Hey, I just wanted to make one last update on the build. I have finished all my gear upgrades as far as I want to push this build currently. I did finish all the Uber boss kills and all the content that I could on this build. We did hit 100. So these are the final stats. We hit 6.5k HP, 800 ES, so extremely tanky, really big EHP, just like base life pool, right? So let me show you the gear. So the main difference, we are using the same claws in the original video. I switched out this ring for a really big res ring. Um, I think we did this because, if I remember correctly, we were using accuracy ring. I was stacking a lot aura effect, and it ended up that precision was capping my accuracy, so I was able to drop the flat accuracy roll on the ring. So that's only changed there, and I think it got was a life roll and nothing really special, just life and a very low flat fizz roll. So for the gloves did get upgraded a little bit. We were able to hit a +2 strike nearby. We also dropped the pierce because, quite honestly, even though I have only 2 pierce right now on the build, it feels perfectly fine. And I was mostly doing bossing and other stuff that where I didn't need like extreme pierce for the clear. If I was doing like a super juice mapping delirium stuff, that exposure right there would probably be once again it would probably be pierce ideally. So the big change here is the prefixes. So I was able to get the suffixes on this dragon scale gauntlets made, and then we did suffixes can't change and then veiled chaos orb until we hit the AoE gems. I think we block conversion, if I remember correctly. That's the highest like thing that you want to block. And it took one try. It was 2x, but it's very worth it because it upgrades your gems. +2 levels for the auras. The belt's still the same. So the helmet it's still the same. We changed out these three items here. I I bought this amulet actually. Originally, I was going to use it to recombinate onto a marble amulet, but ended up like it had these stats literally on it when I bought it for 3x. Mostly we're getting the aiming for the aura effect, but it had +1 for the lightning gems and T1 health and T1 regen, which was very nice for us because we needed a lot of regen. And I looked at the mods, and it turns out that Jorgen is very good for this because if you Jorgen it, I think 6 out of 10 like things are like good upgrades for the implicit. So I just used fertile catalyst, and we hit max life, lowest roll, but something useful at least, right? So we switched that out. Because we switched that out, I was able. I think we added enlighten. Yeah. All right. So I switched out that. Let's go over the gear first. I'll go over the gems in a second. So we switched out the shield also. I did add purity elements to the build, so we didn't need it. We did not need the ailment avoidance anymore. So because of that, we switched that out, and I switched to socketed mana reservation to try to fit in that fourth aura, which is purity of elements. And I did that mostly because after we put on this amulet, my previous amulet, the original one in the video, had a lot of res on it, and I was able to get like without that amulet, we're like at 80 res or something like that. It was going to be a lot of work basically to get overcapped again, which I would need for like doing stuff like simulacrum, where you get cursed pretty often, or like scorch. Actually, no, where avoid. Sorry, I'm immune to ailments, but the curses would really wreck me if I go down to like 60 res or something like that. So to fix that, I just did purity elements. Honestly, the best aura, if you can actually fix your resistances to like 100 or something like that, so when you get cursed, it isn't too bad. Would be haste because that would give you a lot of movement and a lot of attack speed with our aura stacking. So for our boots, since we didn't need all that resistance, I was able to take out the resistance, and I just added suppression boots with T1 regen, because between this and this, we actually don't lose HP anymore when I blood rage. So that was pretty nice, and just like degen is one of the weaknesses for the build. So let's talk about the gem changes. The major gem changes are because we added some enlighten. We added enlighten here and extra aura purity elements. I had to move things around. We lost the increased duration for the anger temp aura with through divine blessing, so that's a little bit more clunky and only lasts 11 seconds instead of I think 18, 19 on the video. In the claw, because we lost the gems once again, I don't have mark on hit anymore. So I have to manually cast Assassin's Mark, which is fine for bossing, but for mapping, it does mean we basically lose power charges and it's not more clunky, right? So for my gloves, we were able to fit in an Enlighten 4. That way, for, was it, Grace and Determination, they're using that. And then in the shield, with the 30% increased mana reservation, we were able to fit in Wrath, Purity Elements, and Precision. And I moved the cast when damage taken molten shell down here into the boots, and these are all the same. So the build is a little bit more clunky, I would say, because the shorter duration for this, and it also makes it much harder to do adrenaline on purpose. I have to do 1, 2, 3 casts before adrenaline pops up. But I really wasn't using it too often. I was mostly using it as a defensive safety measure, right? Sometimes if I knew I could destroy an enemy in one phase, I would just pop it, right, for double vol LS for big damage. But usually I was keeping it as a defensive item. Alright, let's go over the tree really quick. So, there's a couple big changes for the tree here and some of the gems relevant. The tree is a little bit changed. We are going over here now. The reason we're going over here is because I wanted gem slots. We need, jewel slots, I mean. We got jewel slots in particular. We got Bane of Legends because I was bossing quite a bit. This is just, you put both of these in and you have 20% more damage against bosses, basically 10% per jewel. I tried to put in other jewel combos in and they're all lower than 10%, and I didn't think we need life percents because we're tanky enough as is, so I opted for these were pretty cheap. I think they were like 2x and 1x, something like that. It's like 4x total for both of the jewels. Very cheap. Good cheap boss damage. So we went over here and grabbed this life node. We were able to drop the leech node because I was able to grab a cluster node right here with martial prowess, feed the fury, and fuel the fight. Fuel the fight that gives us mana leech, and feed the fury gives us attack leech. So since we have leech there, we could drop a point there. And I need this to fit in the new jewels, right? For the Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh. Everything else about the tree is the same except this one big new tech that I learned recently. So I saw this on someone else's build. The massive thread of hope is extremely good for this build, and especially if you're using a Mariketh jewel down here. So you roll a Mariketh jewel. In particular, you're looking for one mod, non-curse aura effect. You want at least 2 of these in this vicinity that are reachable. Everything else is extra. That's the most important mod by far. It gives a lot of damage and a lot of tank because it buffs our evasion and armor, and that further buffs our damage because we have a perseverance. So I have 1, 2, 3 nodes actually, and we have easy access, and it saves a lot of points because we are using this massive thread of hope. You can see there's a lot of good nodes here, like attack speed, accuracy if you're lacking accuracy. Right here, strike range, some attack speed, and block. That's also possible. So on POB, it says that I can't reach this with the massive tree, with the massive thread of hope, but you can actually click on it, as you can see. But for whatever reason, POB says it's not there. So take that in mind when you check my POB. We have crit chance here. This is a flask gain charges, doesn't really matter. Duration ailments, it's so-so. And blind. Blind is like okay, I guess, right? And you also can go up here. It hits this node 8% attack speed and 20% more damage. Right here, crit, 40%. That's also pretty strong. You get the one big life node here. You also hit aura effect and increased effectiveness 6% for the auras right here. So 8% efficiency, I mean. extremely good. 100% recommend this massive thread hope. It's extremely good. Like so many points. If you want more life, more life, more life. I just opted for the big 7% here and 2% life on kill. So yeah, this is very nice. It has so many good nodes for our build, and then it also helps get the Mariketh timeless jewels that you can't easily reach. Like this, that would be like 4 points, and we get pen, right? It saves so many points. So that's a major change. Everything else about the tree, no, not any real changes. So we ended up, like I said, we have 6.5k HP, 800 ES. I hit 100k, 100k for armor evasion. It's a bit of a meme, honestly. Like, you don't need it that high. Going up this high is like diminishing returns. There's much better stuff you could get. Like, you really don't need it, right? Like right here, we probably should have got like suppression. Like, we wanted what fizz reduction would be much better, and there's other things like haste is probably much stronger. Maybe we went a little too much into aura effect. Like, there's other stuff. Like, this one could have been a double mana reservation helmet. That way you didn't need an enlighten or something like that. I feel like that might have been better play because it's just a little bit clunky right now because I can't fit in mark on hit. If I could drop this enlighten, we could fit a mark on hit on here. That'd just make it a lot smoother to play. And yeah. Other than that, like, this should be ideally, you should get haste instead of purity elements, but like I said, I put this in because I couldn't fit my resistances. Alright, so as far as optional flasks, so for bossing, since I've been bossing the Ubers lately, I dropped the phasing because we don't need phasing against bosses, right? I have a Battle Faith here, 2 charges, just really good damage, right? We have an optional Ruby Flask, just for exarch, and then I have other 2 life flasks. Honestly, for Uber bosses in particular, Granite and Jade Flasks aren't that useful. They're not that much stuff to dodge, or like the armor's not very relevant when it's super massive hits. So sometimes I double up or triple up even on flasks for like a fight like Sirus because the degens. And that's the final upgrades for the build. If you have any other questions, you can feel free to message me. If you are mapping, the other option for instead of Bane of Legends is you can just put in like a 7% life jewels with like triple mods. I don't know, crit multi, attack speed, whatever you need, basically. That's what you would use for mapping. But other than that, that's it. Thanks for watching my build. And oh, one last thing about the cost of the build. It actually went down because I bought this shield for 1x. I think these were like 2x, and then maybe 1x for roll implicits, 3x for that. So I think overall, because like the gear has been getting better, that's for sale. I think this same cost actually, it didn't even go up. It's probably like 50 to 70, and these jewels, like I said, were 2x and 1x or so, like 4x total for those. So the build is still probably around 50 to 70x, depending on how much you self-craft, right? And how much you buy at whatever prices, but it's around that price. Anyways, I recorded some Uber kills at the end of this video. You can watch them all. The only one I skipped was Cortex, and the Cortex is very easy. Like, it doesn't really change in the Uber fight. You just summon an extra, like, synthesis boss in each phase, so it's like the same fight, basically. It really isn't that different. So I skipped that one. But I have the rest of the Uber fights recorded it and I used LS, and I also played around with the Fatal Flourish, that new jewel for Duelist. And it worked really well with Helix, but for LS, I would not recommend. It's just too clunky. It feels like you're using multi-strike, which just doesn't feel good, even when bossing. Alright, later everybody. This is a Uber Maven. We're gonna showcase some Uber boss kills. She is the easiest Uber boss, actually, I think, for this build. Mostly because of Vol LS. Allows you insta-phaser. So the first phase is actually the hardest, since you don't have the Vol souls yet. Drop these in the middle. So now we're gonna have Vol LS souls for the next couple phases. Most of these bosses don't really do anything. Brutuses can be annoying if you get the one that chain hooks you. But most of the bosses don't really do anything for the against this build. So we save these for the phase, for Maven. Yeah. Oh, should chain hook? Nope, not the chain hook one. Yeah, so left up. Left. So drop double Vol LS here. Drop these in the middle. And basically, you should almost phase her instantly between both Vol LSs. So it's very easy fight. I actually forgot to drop my bottle phase. She should have been phased there, honestly. Again, get the souls, save them up for the Maven. This guy's trying to attack us, he can't even hit us. Damage. Definitely do not drop Vol LS before the memory game. They always do the memory game. Game, right, up, circle. Double Vol LS again. And, yep, dead. Drop him in the middle. And we're done with the annoying phases. After this last brain phase, you got just the last phase where Maven gets the beams. That one's not too bad, honestly. Oh, she's instant memory game. Okay. The one move you gotta avoid. You can flame dash it. That one, actually, you have to avoid that too. But if you drop the Vol LSs, she dies very fast. Oh, welcome to Uber Shaper. He's a very annoying fight, honestly, for this build because a lot of time when you're dodging stuff, you just don't have the uptime for damage. Dodge that slam. That slam will do a lot of damage. And he's, do his ball phase. If you stand right here, actually, you don't have to move for the first one usually. Like, it depends. Definitely have to dodge that. But sometimes, like, usually when I stand there, it's fine. But sometimes it does hit you, but a lot of times it actually does not hit you at all. As you can see, we're just like dodging the balls. It's a pretty annoying fight for this build because we're melee. But Vol LS is actually not too bad because you get souls from every phase. Like, I skipped the part where we killed the 4 bosses, obviously. It's very boring. But you do get like enough souls charged up so you can get 2 Vol LSs ready for that first phase. And all these phases right here, you can get the souls again. So that's pretty nice for this fight. These bubbles, be careful when you come out here because they, if they were outside to begin with, they like auto spawn here. Like they get paused basically. So as you can see, they're very annoying fight. I wouldn't drop the Vol LS here because yeah, it does that pretty fast. Just drop them in the middle right there. I like to stand here. Like down here is pretty safe for dodging. You definitely have to dodge that. You cannot evade that. So usually you can evade that in the normal Shaper fight. But in the Uber Shaper fight, that skill, you cannot evade the slam. We have like 90 something plus evasion. But that will... It can kill us basically. If it high rolls, right? Right there we tanked it, but... It's very dangerous. Don't try to tank that. And he's doing another phase. You can Vol Molten Shell this. Just drop these in there. Stack them up. But yeah, do not try to tank that Shaper Slam. You can't evade it. Unless I've been extremely lucky because I got hit by it like 3 times before. And evaded 0 times. And with 90% evasion, I think you just can't evade it. But he slams you, right? So we did tank that one, but yeah, would not recommend. So he's gonna do, we're gonna wait until he does the purple ball phase first. Before we drop the Vol lightning strikes. Yeah, as you can see, it's pretty annoying sometimes. It just gives like no opening when that happens. When the beams are like crisscrossing. Drop Vol Molten Shell here. Just gotta wait for those things to end. Drop everything here and over. It's a bit annoying fight, honestly. I thought Uber Elder is actually easier than this. Just because you have much more higher uptime. Let's get my Uber Elder kill here. Uber Elder. Honestly, this fight, like I mentioned before, I actually feel like this fight's easier than Uber Shaper. Just because you have very high uptime for DPS. So Shaper's gonna do his ball phase right here. I like to stay on the bottom half here. Felt pretty safe there. It's pretty short, honestly. It's not that dangerous. Elders ready to go. I want to drop the ball right down here. Elder should be phased here. Make sure that guy doesn't drop the degen. Going smoothly. Just gotta keep track of Elder. I mean Shaper. Mostly gotta keep track of Shaper down there. We could do his ball phase, so we're gonna drop the degen here. Try to pile these up. It's a bit dangerous right there. Alright, another bubble. We will stock. We will just pile these all up down here. And I missed. Drop the Vol LS after this. Just insta-phase Shaper. When he pops out. Actually, nah. I feel like a ball phase is coming up. Just drop that. That's just slam. Don't mind dropping that down there. And Elder should be phased right there. Try to drop another ball down here. So that area is where I'm dropping all the degen. We'll save the Vol double LS for the last phase. So you probably noticed that I dropped the evasion and Jade Flask because most of these skills, it doesn't really help, honestly. Drop Ball Molten Shell here. The slaps. I think Shaper got... Yep, Shaper should be dead already. Alright. Clean kill. We just wait here. Honestly, pretty fun fight. Can be sort of dangerous if Elder slows you at the wrong time, but in general, this LS is pretty good here, I think. Alright, we're here for Uber Sirus. So one major change for the Pantheons is we got this one for the reduced damage over time, just because there's a lot of degens in the Sirus fight, and that's honestly, if we do die, that's probably what's going to kill us, a degen, not an actual attack. I also suggest you get a CB jewel for this, but I don't have one. Just because I'm using so we're using 2 of the jewels for the Ascendancy for Bane of Legend. And I just couldn't fit it. I would have to change my build a little bit, which I didn't really feel like it. And I think we'll be fine without it. For sure the fight's a little bit annoying because there's this storm in the middle that's chasing you. Not exactly the best fight for melee. But the build does have enough damage that we can do it like pretty smooth, I would say. If you were Omni, yes, it'd be much better. Just because you have that much more damage. So you stay away from the middle because the middle is where the storm spawns and you get a lot of degen. Like right here, you don't want to be in the middle. Honestly, that when he does that, you could actually face tank that and just out leech it basically. So we have triple flash because, like I said, for most of these Uber fights, evasion and armor doesn't really do too much. There's not that many attacks you can evade, and armor past like a certain point is not that useful. Like a 10k molten shell is probably the best thing about armor, really. Past that point, doesn't do too much, honestly. Like Sirus here is all spell damage, basically. So you can see a storm in the middle. Be careful of that. Starts degenning pretty quick. Back to the last phase. This is the only phase that's hard, I would say, about Sirus. Just go slowly. There's no time limit on the first 3 phases. And just make sure you don't stand anywhere near the middle for the degen. I think we're gonna drop the Vol LS as soon as he comes down, honestly. Like, as soon as the Trinity procs to full, we're going. Pretty good uptime. So many life flasks, like I said. It's a lot of degen. You can stay here and just attack them. You can just face roll this damage, really. Okay, we stay in the middle. But yeah, this is definitely one of the harder fights for sure. Because sometimes the degen's in the way and you just don't have any DPS uptime. Alright, we're going to Uber Exarch. Or either words, I mean. Not Exarch, my bad. You actually have to dodge that because he actually does damage. Turns out it's a little weird since he actually does damage. I think, honestly, this version of Exarch, the damage should have been like this to begin with. Because in the regular version, he does like no damage, right? That move, you have to dodge, for sure. Dodge that. Double Vol LS. We'll drop those on him. Pretty fun fight, honestly. I do think he should have been this difficult to begin with. Maybe a little less difficult, but around this difficulty would be really good, I think. From the start, honestly. A little too weak, I think. At least a normal version. Like, that for sure can kill us, the hunger. Tank that. Don't try to tank that. But you can see, like, he does a lot of damage. We almost died a few times. And absolutely nothing. Okay, let's do the last super boss, Searing Exarch. So, a couple changes just for Searing Exarch. Mostly for the meteor phase, we switched out purity elements for purity fire. Because for this fight in particular, it really doesn't matter, to be honest. You don't need any other res, honestly. We're not in cap. I switched out the purity elements, right? You just need fire. Actually, I wonder if I get any extra fire res doing this. 88, actually. Just the +2 for the gloves. I think we'll do that. And still fit in all the auras. Yeah, it's fine. Alright, so 88 fire res. There's no other mods. Be careful you don't roll Fizz as extra, because some of the Exarch attacks are physical conversion attacks, so you roll Fizz as extra cold or lightning, you will take cold damage. Also put on a Ruby Flask, just for this fight, obviously. Dodge that. The minion comes up. Try your best to dodge, obviously. This is pretty hard at times. The fire res does come in handy. Watch out for that degen right there. And sometimes for this fight, it's pretty annoying because you can see right there, he's staying on top of the degen. Can't really do anything. We hope he moves down here. Unfortunately, like, there's not much he can really do until he moves over like that. I dropped the Vol LS. Hopefully big damage. Dodge that. Try to stay in the middle here. The fire res max is coming in handy. You can see right here. It really helps with tankiness if you hit a couple balls. Drop the Vol double LS and back up. That was a little close. I don't know if he could have gotten hit by there. Try to back off into corners though. Not too bad. Definitely for sure try to switch purity of elements for purity of fire just for this fight. It's just all fire damage unless you get a roll mod for Physis Extra.